Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Darkest Dungeon video highlighting the Twilight Knight mod. Now, a number of things have changed since the last video. The first thing that's changed is apparently the game refuses to now record in full screen mode and has to run in windowed mode. This apparently changed a couple of weeks ago, nobody told me, nobody knew, blah 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 blah, all the usual nuisance. Fortunately, I can run it in a windowed mode in a window that is the exact size and shape of my screen. So basically it's not windowed mode, it is windowed mode. It feels a bit different, things are a little less responsive when I click on them, but could be worse. So yeah, things have changed. First of all, she's still standing here doing the Hollywood air hump, gyrating there for our pleasure. Now obviously these are level 3 skills, these aren't level 1 skills, and I still got those selected, hang on. There we go. Right. The aim here is to just talk through the skill changes. I'm not going to take her on a dungeon run for this video, but I am looking forward to taking her into the Crimson Court DLC in about a week's time, a little under a week now. Yeah, that'll be fun. So, as I said, pretty much all of her skills have changed. They're a lot closer to what I wanted now. Should add the usual disclaimer, you know, everything you see here is still work in progress, nothing is final, and everything's subject to change, although things are a lot less subject to change than they were when I did the previous video on the mod. So as you know, this is the Twilight Knight from Kingdom Death, exported or imported into the world of Darkest Dungeon, where she actually fits rather nicely. And as you see, this particular one, named Shara, after a woman I had the pleasure to meet a few years ago, has a number of perks locked in, both positive and negative. She's got some levels, she's got some equipment, but we're just focusing on the skills. I've got all the skills up to level 3, just because that way they're all the same level. You know, skills vary with levels, usual thing, they get better as you put more into them. And I've unlocked all but one of her camping skills. Let's get that last camping skill now. There we go. Right, so we'll go along the line and talk about how things have changed, what they do now, and so on. So to start off with, we have Soothing Slash. I keep wanting to call it Soothing Strike, might even need to change that. Soothing Slash is a basic attack. She'll use it from somewhere near the front, it will target enemies somewhere near the front. It's a fairly straightforward standard attack, and it relieves a little bit of stress from her when she does it. I don't know if she finds it relaxing, she's getting into the rhythm, working her way through things. It's a reliable attack, and with that reliability she knows, I got a good hit in there, I'm comfortable, I'm doing okay here. Next we have Whirlwind Attack. Now, for Whirlwind Attack, she spins around and buffets the enemies in the middle, knocking them about all over the place. This can mess up enemy lines. Next we have Slave a Beast. Slave a Beast does a significant amount of damage against foes of the Beast or Eldritch type. However, afterwards she is fairly exhausted and marked as a target because the monsters want to take her down fairly quickly because she just did a pretty massive amount of damage, right? Next up we have Strike to Stun. A fairly straightforward Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay reference there. I know, right? We've had Slave a Beast, Strike to Stun. There's a few other references in here as well, but don't worry about it. I'm sure you can work it all out. Strike to Stun, smashes them in the face with the pommel of her sword, tries to stun them. And it also reduces the target's stun resistance a little bit. Provided, you know, they don't resist the stun resistance debuff. Might need to tweak damage or crit values on that because of the stun resist debuff on top of the stun potential. Next up we have Anticipation, where she studies her opponents, gets a good sense for what they're going to do, and just prepares. It's almost as if she knows what they're going to do before they do it themselves. This puts her in a riposte stance and marks her as a target. It also gives her a dodge buff. Now additionally, every riposte attack gives her a minute stacking 1 point crit buff, so that her follow-up attacks afterwards are more powerful. Now, in a previous testing iteration a day or two ago, we had what was it? The riposte attacks were debuffing the enemy's stun resistance, and then she could use strike to stun, or an ally could stun an enemy. But it led to her riposte attacks feeling a bit weak, so we've put the crit stack on there just to make it a little bit different to other riposte attacks. Next, of course, we have Glimmer of Hope. Now, Glimmer of Hope targets the entire party, including her. So she exhorts them to acts of courage. She tells them they are safe. With light, there's hope. While the lantern shines, you need not fear. And the stress level of the party is reduced quite significantly, and the torchlight increases. However, she bears the burden of the stress she relieves, because she knows that in her heart of hearts, every time she tells them it's all going to be safe, that doubt of hers is in there lurking. That self-doubt, that belief that she's telling them a lie. She's not telling them what they need to know. She's telling them what they need to hear, not what's actually true, and she feels the responsibility of that, the crushing weight bearing down on her with each repetition. So she takes some stress. Now, it's worth noting here that the stress she takes in the tooltip displays incorrectly. Now, this is because the skill affects the entire party, the stress she takes will actually be multiplied by the number of party members, then redirected back to her. It's a buggy, hard-coded tooltip issue, not a lot can be done about it. Funnily enough, first time I tried it, we put in the amount of stress we wanted her to take, used the skill, she took 101 stress, became virtuous on the spot, and then had a real easy time for the rest of that run. So basically, at level 3, it's along the lines of, everyone in the party removes 10 stress, including her, then she'll take about 16 stress. So overall she'll take she'll take some, should end up worse off than she is, unless she has steady locked in and a Book of Sanity, because then she tends to not take that much stress, but this one just got really lucky. Okay, so Glimmer of Hope now, stress relief for the entire party, but she takes stress, which is what I wanted all along. So don't use it too often unless you really, really, really fancy your chances of getting her to become virtuous. And finally, we have Leap of Faith, which is a skill which she uses when she's pulled towards the back of the party to leap forwards and attack. Now, she wins herself a bit when she lands, and has to rely on her armor to take the hits while she's recovering. The protection buff might be removed in a future iteration, not entirely sure on that one yet. Leap of Faith was previously... oh dear goodness, what was it? Well, first it was Run to Ground, then it was Death or Glory, then it was Leap of Faith. This is the skill that's proving somewhat troublesome. And keeps getting tweaked and changed for balance reasons. Additionally, her damage values might be a little... well, her damage values have been reduced, her critical values have been tweaked, her health has been reduced, her dodge has been increased. She's now a more balanced character with fairly unique values in the ability scores here. I mean, that's... They still need a bit of fine-tuning though. Camping skills, we have Wound Care, Encourage and Pep Talk, just like everyone else, and then we have 4 unique camping skills, which as you can see have placeholder icons because their camping skill icons haven't been done yet, because she's not quite ready for release yet, as you can see. So first off, we have the first story. Now, many of you Kingdom Death fans will be familiar with the first story. Yes, as the heroes sit around the campfire, the Twilight Knight will tell the first story of how the first humans of her tribe were set upon by a mighty beast that leapt out of the darkness and began to slaughter them indiscriminately, and they had to fight it off with nothing but fragments of broken stone and towels to cover their modesty. This story stresses the importance of dodging monsters' attacks and surviving, and it relieves stress from the party, because in the story the members of the tribe got to survive and go on and make their tribe and be individuals who could last in the darkness against hideous monsters. It's a nice, relaxing story that helps rouse the spirits, and she's happy to tell it every time they camp. Next up we have Talk to the Sword. Now, something you may or may not know about the Twilight Knight is her sword is a conscious entity of its own, and it communicates with her on an emotional level. And it wants to kill, it wants to chop, hack, maim, it wants to draw blood, it doesn't care. You know, it doesn't care if it's another hero, or that monster over there, or some fellow back in town, and she has to exert an incredible amount of self-control to prevent herself from just running amok and slaughtering everything in sight until she dies, basically, because people wouldn't put up with that for too long, right? So, Talk to the Sword. Sometimes when she starts getting a bit stressed out, she'll hear the sword talking, and sometimes, just sometimes, she'll start to answer back. Now, for this particular camping skill, she will hold a one-sided conversation with the sword, and the sword will be encouraged by the fact that she's noticing it, that she's acknowledging its existence, and it will be that little bit more willing to fight in upcoming battles. However, you know, the rest of the heroes get a bit stressed out because, you know, they get to hear her saying, "Oh no, no, not now, my pretties. No, no, when they're asleep. Yes, yes, old friend, when they're sleeping, that's when we'll strike." You know, it's quite disconcerting. Next up, we have the Edge of Reason. She's not Bridget Jones, I promise. Well, maybe a little bit. You know, very fragile psyche, crazy, chaotic, Stormbringer kind of sword that talks to her and tries to drive her mad. You know, sometimes her mind begins to crack and crazy things happen. Now, this camping skill is a bit of a lucky dip. Alright? Sometimes good things happen, sometimes bad things happen. Probably going to tweak those percentages a little bit, but it's a kind of a lucky dip. There's a slightly better chance of good things happening. There's 3 positive buffs, 3 negative buffs. You'll notice that the negative buffs mirror the positive buffs, so there's a, you know, plus damage, minus damage, plus maximum hit points, minus maximum hit points, plus speed, minus speed, right? And the negative one is always smaller, so that if you get both of the same one, you're still going to get a little bit positive. This is a complete gamble camping skill. Might have to increase its time cost. It's for the player who likes a bit of a gamble, or if you've got a few points left over. And the reason it's currently 2 is that you could just get all the bad things, right? I've had that happen a few times myself. And then, of course, Murmuring Lantern, where the reverberations of the lantern echo throughout the night and keep the monsters at bay. It could be sounds the monsters find very unpleasant. It could be sounds that makes it sound like there are monsters in the camp, and so the other monsters won't come and look because they'll think, oh, there won't be any heroes there. Look, there's some monsters over there dealing with any, you know, there's no problems. However, you know, these sounds, they do kind of set the heroes on edge a bit, and they don't have a very easy time sleeping. So they actually get a bit jittery and on edge, and are less likely to be surprised for the next few encounters. Well, there you have it. There's the current versions of the combat skills and the camping skills. Things are still being changed and edited and tweaked. She's getting nearer to release, Still waiting on some art assets to come through, but, you know, things are looking a lot better. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little skill overview here, and here's hoping we'll have something a bit more meaningful in the next video. Well, thanks for watching, I'll say bye-bye.